Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Stitch Sessions. I'm super excited today because I'm going to show you how to make this super adorable Easter egg basket. And this one has a little guy in here. This was so fun to make, and I have two little people I'm making these for, so I made this one a little bit bigger, which is what I'm going to show you in the tutorial today. And it's just super fun to understand how to crochet a circle. So we start from the bottom and then work our way up the sides. I love these types of projects, and you can add a little embellishment here with your bow, which you probably would have seen in a recent tutorial how to make that. So Easter is just around the corner. This is perfect if you've got any little ones to give gifts to, and I'm going to put some little chocolates and goodies in here. So let's just jump into this super cute project. Okay, let's dive in and get started on our sweet little Easter basket. So to get started with this project, you can use any type of yarn that you prefer. I have used the Bernat Maker Home Deck yarn, and it is 72% cotton and 28% nylon. And I just like it because it's great material for bags, and especially for little ones that are going to be dragging this around a little bit. It's very durable, and you can just throw it in the wash. So this particular basket probably was less than, I would say 25 grams of yarn. I'm going to make the next one just slightly a little larger because it's for a little bit of an older child. So I'm sure they're going to want to fit more candy in here. So I would say use approximately 50 grams-ish, and that's probably way more than you need. But again, it also depends on the size of your basket. So I'm using a couple of different colors here. I've got some leftovers here. So I'm using this turquoise color and the yellow, just to create a little bit of interest here in the basket. And then I had some leftover, I think this is Super Saver yarn, that I used to make the embellishments for the bows on the basket. So you can do it in any color combination you like. That's what I chose. Now this, because it's considered a bulky size 5, they recommend using an 8mm hook. I have decided to use a 6mm hook, also known as a J. And that's because I want the stitches to sit a little bit tighter for the basket. And as always, you'll need a pair of scissors and a darning needle later on for sewing in your ends. So let's jump in here and let's get started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the turquoise for the base of my basket. So we're going to start with that color first. So just get that out of the way. And since I've already, I don't know what's going on here. Since I've already started this, I'm pulling from the center already. And our basket is going to have a circular bottom. So we are going to start with a cinch circle. So you'll wrap the yarn around to create an X. I like to secure it here with my thumb, and then I'll insert my hook and pull a loop through. So basically this is just like a really big slip knot that never gets tightened. So if I take my fingers out, that's what it looks like. And in order to secure it, I'm going to do a chain 1. Okay, so now I've secured my cinch circle and we're ready to go. So in this case, what we're going to do is we are going to use half double crochets. So I'm going to chain one more, which is actually the height of a half double crochet stitch. So 2 chains counts as a half double crochet. So now what we want to do is we want to half double crochet 7 more times into this cinch circle. So that means we're going to yarn over, insert into the circle and pull through. you'll have 3 loops on your hook. We'll yarn over and then we're going to pull through all 3. So your work should look something like this. So there's your half double crochet and here's your chain 2, which counts as a half double crochet. So technically you have 2 into your circle. So we need to do 6 more so that you have 8 in total. So you'll yarn over, insert, pull through, yarn over, pull through all 3. Okay, so you're going to do that several more times, and I'll meet up with you when you've got your 8 ready to go. Once you have your 8 half double crochets, you want to pull on this short tail here to cinch the center of your circle shut, nice and tight. There we go. Okay, and then what you want to do is you want to find the top of your chain 2, and it may have snuggled in very tightly there, so it is not here because this is the top of that first full stitch. The top of your chain 2 is actually right there. So you're just going to insert your hook and you're going to slip stitch. So now your first round should look something like this. 8 half double crochets. Now what we want to do, moving on to round 2, we're going to chain 2 and we are going to half double crochet back into the same stitch. So for round 2, we're going to increase each stitch. This means we're going to place 2 stitches into each stitch of the previous round. So if I go into the next stitch, which is this one right here, I'm going to insert, pull through, so that's 1 half double crochet, yarn over, and insert again into that same space. So that's what we call an increase stitch, when you place 2 into 1. So you want to continue around putting 2 half double crochets into each stitch all the way around. This should give you a total of 16 stitches, and then you slip stitch at the end. So go ahead and do that, and we'll meet you at the start of round 3. Remember, 2 stitches into each stitch around. Once you have your 16 stitches, you want to make sure to slip stitch. Now I've done an extra half double crochet here, so I'm going to I'm going to ignore this chain 2 and slip stitch into the very first stitch there. And that's just a slightly different technique. I sometimes will do that every other row just to kind of hide that seam effect a little bit. But if you go ahead and slip stitch to the top of each chain 2, that is correct as well. Okay, so now your work should look like this, and you should have 16 stitches all the way around. We're going to continue on to round 3. So we will chain 2. And now what we're going to do is we're going to do an increase in every second stitch. So we are going to yarn over and insert into the same stitch here. Pull through. So technically that's 2 in one stitch. In the next stitch, we're going to do 1 half double crochet. Into the next stitch, we're going to do 2. So you'll make sure to put 2 stitches inside that same stitch. Okay, so you have 1 and 2. So this is the pattern. Into the next stitch, it's only 1 half double crochet. Into the next stitch, we will do 2 half double crochets. Back into the same stitch. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, all the way around. At the end of round 3, you should have 24 stitches. So go ahead, finish that off, and I'll meet you there. Okay, going on to round 4. We will do the same drill, chain 2, and now we're going to increase into every 3rd stitch. So I'm going to go right ahead into the next stitch beside my chain 2, and I am just going to do one half double crochet, and now into the next one I'm going to place 2. So that's going to be 2 half double crochets into the same stitch. So the chain 2 will count as 1 half double crochet. This is another half double crochet, and now we've got 2. So the formula will now be 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, all the way around. So again, we're going to insert 1 here, 1 into the next one, and then 2 into the next one. So what these rounds do is they allow your circle to continue to sit flat when you place it down. If we don't increase, then it's going to start to curl up. So right now it's just a little tight, which we are going to do, but we want to create a little bit of a flatter bottom. Sorry, we're going to create a larger bottom. So we're still going to do a few more rows of increasing. So in the meantime, go ahead and finish off this round, and I will meet you when we're ready to start round 5. At the end of round 4, you should have 32 stitches all the way around. So you should still be able to sit your work flat. Now I've been stitching a bit tighter than normal just because I know this is going to be for a bag. So let's move on to round 5, and we're going to do a couple more rounds. So again, chain 2, and now we're going to increase into every 4th stitch. So I alternate my increases. Usually every other round I will increase into the base of the same chain 2 space, and then every other round I increase into the next one over. So I think that sounds super confusing, but I think you've noticed what I've been doing. So I'm increasing right away here, and now into the next one I'm going to do 1 half double crochet. Into the next one I'm going to do 1 again, and then into the next one I'm going to do 1 on its own. So the pattern for round 5 is to have 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, and 2. So basically you're going to be increasing in every 4th stitch. So you have 3 on their own, and in the 4th one you're going to increase, which is this one right here. So I'm going to insert, there's 1, and I'm going to put 1 more back into that same stitch. Then I will proceed to do 1 into each of the next 3 stitches on their own. So I have 1 half double crochet. Into the next one I have the second one, and into the next one I have the third one. And then it's time to do an increase, which means I'm going to insert 2 into this same stitch. Okay, so you can see where the 2 is, then there's a single, a single, a single, and then there's another increase there. Okay, so round 5, every 4th stitch you're going to increase, and you should have 40 stitches at the end of round 5. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you at the end. All right, guys, we're going to do one more round. So we're going on to round 6, and then we're going to change colors. So as usual, we will chain 2. And now we're going to increase into every 5th stitch. So that means we're going to do 4 individual half double crochets and then an increase. So I'm going to go into the base of the same stitch here. So that's going to count as 2. And now I'm going to count 4 individual half double crochets. So this is 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. Okay, and now I'm going to do an increase stitch right into there. That means, as always, you're going to place 2 stitches into the same one. Okay, so you've got an increase there, then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 individuals, and that's technically an increase there. At the end of round 6, you should have 48 stitches. Make sure to count, okay? So, on your way with you, increasing into every 5th stitch, and I'll meet you at the end of round 6 where we're going to change colors. At the end of round 6, you'll have your 48 stitches, and now we're going to change colors. So you can do it one of 2 ways. You can snip your yarn and fasten off, and then use a slip knot and introduce the new color. Or before you snip your yarn, you can introduce your new color, which is one way I'm going to show you right now. So I've finished my round 6 and I wanted to go into round 7 with a new color. So I've got my yarn here still on the go, but instead of yarning that over and pulling through for my chains, I am going to yarn over with the new color and pull that one through. Okay, and then I'll just pull that one tight. And now I'm going to chain 2. Because I've cinched this one down, that won't count as 1. And now I'm going to continue on for round 7 as usual. And I'm going to kind of work over the first little bit of this tail here. Actually, and some people, what they like to do is just tie this tail. Where did it go? Oh, right there. They're going to tie this tail onto here just to kind of give it a little bit of a secure footing there. Okay. And so just for a few seconds, I'm going to ignore this for now. And I'm going to go ahead, actually, I'm going to work over that. So I'm going to go ahead and now we're going to increase in every 6th stitch. Okay, so we're going to do 5 individuals and then every 6th stitch will increase. So I've yarned over and now into the base of that same stitch, I'm going to pull through and you can see that that's sticking out a bit. So I'm just going to, because I want to work over it as I go. Okay, and I'm going to continue into the next one. So I'm just working over my short tails there just to kind of get them nice and hidden. Whoops. Okay, and another one, half double crochet. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. This round I'm not going to count that one because we're going to increase after. So we have 4 full half double crochets. We need a 5th one. Whoops. Yarn over. Insert. So you can see that it just kind of blends really nicely, very naturally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to increase into the 6th, which is right there. And again, trying to work over my tails. So there's 1. And there's the 2nd one right in there. And at this point now, I'm going to cut off this turquoise because we don't need that for now. I'll continue to work over that. And now I'm going to do another 5 individual half double crochets here. 1. Here's the 2nd one. So I'm just still creating the bottom of our basket. Whoops. Okay. And I just want to have a little bit more space on the bottom for this particular young person I'm making this for. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're going to do another increase. So that's 2 into 1. So go ahead and finish round 7. So we're increasing in every 6th stitch, and at the end we should now have 56 stitches in total. So I'll meet you there. At the end of round 7, I have 56 stitches, okay? And I am going to introduce my turquoise back. So this is just the way I'm designing it. You can do whatever color combinations you like. So the idea is that this is going to be the inside of the bag, and this yellow is going to form the ridge or the rim along the bottom. So I am now, I have to weave that short tail in. I'm going to reintroduce my turquoise. And I'm only going to introduce it for 1 round. And so I'm actually not going to cut my yellow yarn. And I could have done this with the initial turquoise, but I didn't want to confuse you guys too much. So, but you more experienced crocheters will, you may have done this already. So we're going to introduce our turquoise back in and just kind of pull through like a chain and then tighten that up there. Okay, and now I'm going to chain 2. But here's where things are going to differ a little bit. We are no longer going to increase our stitch count. So from here on out, we're always going to continue to have 56 stitches. Not only that, but we're also going to only work into the back loops of these stitches. So when you have your stitch here, if you look at the top, you've got 2 loops. You've got the front, which is the one closest to you, and you've got the back, which is the one furthest away from you. So instead of working into the full stitch, we will now only be working into the back loop. So it's going to look like you're going down into the top of the stitch. But here's a little extra twist I'm adding just to make it a little bit more solid. We'll go ahead and do the half double crochet here, and I'll show you. So you'll yarn over, and I am actually going to completely ignore this yellow for now. So we're going to yarn over, and we're going to go into the top of this stitch and pick up that back loop. So this is the first one we slip stitch to. So I'm just going to pull through, and I'm going to resolve my half double crochet as usual. Now you can see that that loop is quite stretchy. Now that was the first one there. That's a little bit, it was where we slip stitched, so it doesn't have the greatest strength. So what I'm going to do is from here on out, whenever I go into and use the back loop, just to show you, there's the back loop. I'm also going to go down into the back bottom loop. And that's just going to make it a little bit more solid. So pull that through. And so what it does when you're working into the back loop is it kind of leaves the front loops protruding forward, and that'll create a nice little ridge effect. So I'm going to do that again, in through the top and see, it automatically caught the bottom back loop as well. And I'll pull through all of them. And there are no increases in this round, so we're not going to add any additional stitches. This is what we're going to do all the way around. I'm going to do a couple more with you because I know it can be a little funny sometimes when you're trying to see where everything is. So you'll yarn over, and remember, we're not going in through the front where the stitch normally is. We're going in through the top to work the back loop, okay? But I also want to work the back bottom loop so that I've got two. Okay, and this is another reason why I love using half double crochet stitches, is because it really offers that opportunity to catch the back loop there as well, the back bottom loop. So again, yarn over, in through the top and down the center, okay? And then you'll pull through and resolve the half double crochet. Going to do that again. Yarn over, down through the center of the stitch, okay? And then you'll pull through, yarn over, pull through all of them. So this is fairly straightforward, one into each and every single stitch all the way around, going into the back loops only. You will still have 56 stitches. I'll meet you at the end. Okay guys, when it came to the end where I'm going to slip stitch, this is where I'm going to pick up my yellow color again. So I'm going to pick, I've dropped my turquoise color back here, and I picked up the yellow again, which is convenient because we came back to the same place. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to slip stitch through that. So that solidifies the round, and now I'm starting with a new color. So if I just pull this out for a second, now you can definitely see that it's starting to curl up, which is exactly what I want. Once we stop increasing the number of stitches, now our work is going to curl up, which is going to help us create the sides of our basket. So very similar to what I did here in this little one. So you see, I used the yellow as a little bit of a rim here. Then I went back to the green color, which I'm doing here, and then I'll go back to the yellow. But I might do it a little bit different. I might do 2 rounds of the yellow and then maybe go back and do another turquoise color. So again, I'm not going to cut off this other color just yet because I think I may add it back in. And because we're fairly close to where we ended, it's a really convenient way to keep carrying your yarn so that you don't have to keep tying off and then having to sew in your ends. So that's the real convenient thing about doing that. So basically, we're just going to continue on. No more increases now. And as usual, you'll do your chain 2, and we will not work into the back loop. So I just also wanted you to see how when it sits, it creates this nice ridge here. Really cool. Now you're just going to crochet as usual. So I'm going to go right into the very next stitch here, pull through, and I'm going to do half double crochet. So it's really straightforward now from here on out. And you would continue doing this for as many rows as you like, depending on how deep you would like your basket to be. And then we will talk about doing the handle of our basket. So with this basket, I had done 6 rows or 6 rounds to give me the height. And because this basket is bigger, you can see, because I can place this one inside, I am going to go for 8 rows or 8 rounds to give me the height that I would like for this basket. Like I said, I'm going to change colors one more time. You can certainly just continue on with your yellow, whichever way you go. I know I'm repeating myself here, but there are no more increases. So you're simply going to do 1 half double crochet into each stitch all the way around, slip stitch, chain 2, and begin again. Now, some of you may opt to just continue doing it in the spiral round. This means you would not slip stitch, you would not chain 2, you would just continue going on up, and you certainly can do that. I'm choosing to do this method because I don't want to have to deal with the step up at the end, which you can solve with a little single crochet and then a slip stitch usually. But I just figure it's much easier, especially if you're a beginner. I would recommend keeping to the slip stitch and chain 2 method for now. So go ahead and do the number of rows that you desire. I am going to do 8 rounds. Sorry, not rows, they are rounds. And then I'll meet you back here and we'll talk about doing the rim around the top and how to make the handle to your sweet little basket. Okay, I've done my 8 rows, and so I'm pretty happy with this height the way it is. So I'm going to do something a little bit different just before we start our handle. And that is, I'm going to create a rim here using this lovely turquoise color. So like you see in this smaller basket here, we created a handle here. So I actually did something really interesting. If I pull it up close, at the top I did a whole row of slip stitches. And I did that to give it a little bit of a thicker finishing off here. So this will be slightly similar, but I'm going to introduce the turquoise color back. But here's the thing, I am not going to fasten this off, and I'm not going to attach it here. I'm actually going to start with a slip knot. Oops. And I am going to just insert my hook just on the other side of this stitch. I still want it to be fairly close, but I'm just on the other side. That's where I slip stitch that. I'm going to keep that there. And I'm going to slip stitch to join. Okay. And just adjust this here. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I am going to slip stitch all the way around, but instead of going kind of above, I'm going to go in through the sides of these stitches. So not only am I going to go through this stitch as usual, where you get the top 2 loops, but I am actually going to tuck under that 3rd loop in the back. So see how there's these 2 and then there's the 3rd? I'm going to tuck right behind in there, and I'm going to slip stitch through that whole thing. Okay, so I'm going to do that a few times so that you get the gist of it. So if I pull this stitch apart, see how there's a loop in the bottom and the back there? I want to go under that as well. And pull through and slip stitch. And again, I just kind of pull it apart so I can see and slip stitch. And again, in through here and slip stitch. So you can see a little bit, it's creating this ridge, but it's allowing that yellow to sit there. So I like the look of that, and it kind of ties in the turquoise we've been using so far. So that is what you're going to do all the way around, and you're going to continue all the way around until you come just to this last stitch here. And I would go ahead and slip stitch into the base here, because we are then going to pick back up with our yellow, and you'll see what I have in store for you. So off you go. You're going to slip stitch into the spacing between each stitch all the way around. And you'll need to take your time and maybe be a little extra patient. So I will see you soon. Okay. Okay, so I'm coming up to my last stitch here, and this is where we left off with the yellow. I am going to slip stitch into the base of that, And then I'm going to slip stitch right where I first began as well. So I basically want to make sure that that turquoise color comes full circle there. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to, while keeping this turquoise still on the hook, I'm going to loop over that yellow. So now I am going to be working with 2 strands on my hook. So this is the part where we create the handle that goes across, just like we did with this little one here. Okay. So now I want you to notice though that this handle was done differently. Okay. So we did a chain across, but then we came back and stitched over it using half double crochets here. We're going to do something slightly different for this one. With the 2 strands, now you have 2 colors, here's what we're going to do. We are going to chain 30. And you don't want it to be too tight, but you want it to be, you know, comfortably snug. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can see it kind of mixes the 2 colors nicely together. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to culminate with the turquoise and the yellow together throughout the handle. So go ahead and finish that off, and at the end of your 30 chains I'm going to meet you because I'm going to show you how we're going to fasten it off to the other side. So off you go, and I'll see you soon. Okay, I've got my 30 chains, so you can see that kind of creates this cool multicolored effect. And you want to try and find the spot right across the way there. Now you can count your stitches, which I always, of course, recommend, but I'm going to show you a neat little trick that can get you to the other side without having to count. So you can see where your chain is coming out of. So what you want to do is just pull out the edges of your basket. And so this creates one peak. And so if you fold it perfectly in half like that, you're going to automatically create your second peak here. So all you want to do is just find the stitch that's in that peak. That's it. And what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into that. Now I want you to notice something. See what I'm doing? This would not be recommended because I am now twisting my handle. So I really want to make sure that you can use a stitch marker to hold that, but make sure you really flatten this out so that your handle is not twisted. This is a common thing that can happen. So I want the V's facing outward, and then I'm going to insert my hook, whoops, into that spot. Now, we slip stitched here. Now, slip stitches tend to be quite tight, so that's why I wanted you to go into the spacing and keep a nice relaxed tension. So I'm going to insert right through there, and then I just double check, make sure that my handle is not twisted and that it's nice and flat all the way down. Beautiful. And so then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure it's nice and snug, and then I'm going to secure it with a slip stitch. I can just tug on it a bit because I want to tighten it at the end. And so now we have our handle. Now the only thing is it's a bit floppy and doesn't sit upright, so we're just going to fortify it a little bit with some more slip stitches. But now what I'm going to do is I am going to just slip stitch down in the center all the way across and back to the other side. Okay, so it's going to look something a little bit like this, and we've got a couple of tails in there, so just be careful not to get things tangled up. So I'm just going to move that to the other side. So I'm going to insert into that first V, so not this one because that's the one I just secured to. I'm going to insert, remember it's through both yarns, and pull through both yarns. And then pull through again because it is a slip stitch. Okay. And we're going to do that all the way up the handle and down the other side. And again, just keep it snug but relaxed. We don't want it to be too tight. We just want it to feel secure and sturdy. And making sure that you always work using both strands. Some people might even like to go up a hook size. Like this is a 6, so they might go up to a 6.5 just to kind of make sure that that gauge stays fairly relaxed. But that is totally up to you. I'm continuing to work with my size 6, but I'm trying to really be aware not to be too tight. So I just want to do a few here so you can see the effect. Okay, so you've still got that nice kind of multicolored tone there, but now you've got something that's a bit sturdier. It's a bit thicker and it's less likely to do this curling bit going on there. Okay, so go ahead and do that and I will meet you on the other side. Okay, I have just come down to my last slip stitch and I'm liking how it's turning out. It's a little bit stronger, but I'm going to add yet one more round of slip stitches here. So this is why, again, we talked about keeping this nice and relaxed. So technically it looks like there's a slip stitch on this side of the chain. Now we're going to work our way up the other side of the chain. So I do want to secure my work down to the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch into that base of where I began to chain. And I'm going to slip stitch through there. I want to keep this part definitely snug because this is what secures it down to the rest of the basket. And then I'm just going to insert into the very first chain going back up. Now this one's going to be a little tricky because these ones are tighter, the ones that initially fasten in. There we go. And pull through. And of course, when you're working with double strands, it always adds that much more. A little bit of a challenge, but not too bad. And I'm going to just make sure that that's nice and snug. And then I'm going to continue my way back up that side again. So into the next one. I'm going to slip stitch. Oh, my tail's getting in the way there. I'm going to slip stitch. Okay. And then again into the very next stitch, which is right there. And into the next one. So I'm going to do a few of these because then you'll really be able to see the effect of doing the double slip stitches, one going down and one going up. And again, it'll make the handle sit a bit better as well. I'll just do one more here. Slip stitch. So there you have it. So you can see now it's got 2 slip stitches side by side, and definitely see it's curling less than it was, but now it's really going to add some weight here, and it's going to allow the handle to see it's already standing up a little bit more on its own. So now we're going to fortify this with a double slip stitch all the way up. And then you'll be pretty much done. So go ahead, finish off your slip stitches, and then we'll just take you to the end here and fasten off. You've got a fantastic Easter basket ready to go. Okay, and this is my last slip stitch right in the side here. And now I want to make sure that this is nice and secure to the bottom. So see, this stitch got a little bit loosened up here. This was our first slip stitch, so I'm going to insert into that, and then I'm going to insert into the space of the first row there, and I'm going to slip stitch through this and through both of these to secure it. There you go. And you can see that it now is sitting accordingly. Now look at that. See how the handle now sits much nicer on its own? And we are done. So I'm just going to pull this loose a little bit, and I'm going to snip off my yarn. Just leave a little bit of a tail. I always like leaving a little extra just in case I have a need for a little extra yarn. And then I'm just going to pull this all the way through. And then I'm going to weave this end in. Actually, for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take it through here and pull it out to the inside. Actually, what I could do is, if you didn't want to make the big bows like I did on the other one, is you could just tie this on the end, just like that. And it would make for a really cute, but a little simpler tie off at the end here. Okay, so that you have your basket there like that. And there you have it, your Easter basket. Perfect for the egg hunting connoisseur. Now I am going to actually show you how I made these really cute little super easy bows. And it's just making some single crochets. And that is actually in a separate tutorial, super quick. It's linked in the description box down below. So go ahead and check that out. You can make your two little bows and then meet me back here and I'll just show you how I attach them. But I actually kind of like this option. I probably would have, if I had thought about it sooner, I would have started with longer strands on this side, but you can still add this in afterwards. Or you can even take a couple of double or triple strands and just tie a simple, two simple bows on either side. Or you can simply leave it plain, just like that. Totally up to you. So go ahead, check out that quick little tutorial if you do want to add the bows, and then I'll meet you back here to show you how I put it on. And once you've got your bows ready to go, we are now ready to fasten them on to our basket. So you can see I've already got one done here. And if you've watched the tutorial on how to make this bow, you know that you need to leave a little bit of an extra long tail, which I did here. And I'm going to show you how we're going to fasten it to the other side. So what you want to do is you want to take that end of the long tail and you want to thread it through your needle. I can just get just like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take our bow and we're going to find the spot that we want it in. So in my case, I'm doing it at the ends on each side of my handles. And I'm going to find that spot just beneath that last stitch where we fastened off the handles. So somewhere where it looks centered. So mine is going to be right about there. So I'm just going to insert my needle, make sure it comes through nice and clean on the other end. And I'm just going to pull it through. And you can see that my bow is going to sit very nicely there. Okay. And so now what I'm going to do is I am going to poke it through somewhere along just over the top there, just to come through, not too high. There we go. I want to come through the other side because I want to loop it over. There we go. I'm going to loop it over and in front of the bow so it stays along that binding in the center. And then I'm just going to keep feeding it through that same spot. So right in there, poke it through to the other side. There we go. And pull it through. And I'm going to do this several times until I feel that my bow is nice and secure, making sure to adjust it and that I'm happy that it's staying centered. And then I'm going to feed it back through that same area there. Okay, and then down and over and back in that original spot. And I'll do this at least 3, maybe 4 times, also depending on how much yarn you've got as well. And I'm not too concerned. Some people might want to hide this, but it's just one little strand, and I'm not too concerned about it. And in fact, the recipient, I'm sure, will not be too concerned about it either, because when I give this as a gift, it's going to be filled with lots of goodies. So that will be the last thing they'll be looking at. And I think I'm going to do, I'm going to do one more. So I'm going to insert through here and pull. And when you're happy with, you know, how strong it is, which I feel pretty confident there, what you want to do is you want to go through the back and just knot it a few times to secure it. So that might mean you just have to find your way, because with the home deck yarn with nylon, it's not always easy to get through when it's really tight. So I am just sneaking under a few of those other strands as well. And I'm going to pull up, and then I'm going to try and knot it back in there. Oops. There we go. So now it's really kind of getting a bit more secure. So I'm going to do this a couple of times, just until I feel that this is pretty good and not going to come unraveled. And whoops, I accidentally picked that one up. So that happens sometimes too. There we go. So I'm pretty happy with that. I am not going to snip off right away over here, because I really like to fortify everything, as some of you may know. I am now that it's knotted, I'm going to go back in the top here, and I'm going to weave in some of this end right into the bow itself. So I came out through here, and now I'm just going to sneak in back here, whoops, and just hide some of that end. So it's just a neat way so that you don't have to worry about any ends hanging out here. And it'll also add some extra security. So I want to make sure it doesn't go through to the front in this case. What I'm trying to do is just hide in a little bit. So I'm just picking up the loops that are closest to the surface, just to hide that a little bit. And then I might go maybe a little back and forth. So this one I'll go back into the same one. Really gentle. I don't want it to bunch up. And then I think I might go back up through here. And one more going backward. Whoops. Trying to get in between there. There we go. And that's it. I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to snip off right there. And we have our adorable little bow. So now you can see our basket has this great handle, nice and sturdy, and it's got these really sweet embellishments on it. And there you go, guys. So here is our Easter basket. And you can always make several bows. You can put a bow on the top if you like, or do no bows at all. Totally and completely up to you. So here is our lovely Easter basket. And here's the other one I had made too. So I hope that whoever you make yours for really enjoys their their basket, as well as all the great little goodies you put inside there. And if you have any questions at all, please do leave me a comment in the comment box down below, or please feel free to email me directly at info@crochetcrafty.com. I'm always happy to help and give any help, hints, or suggestions. And make sure to click the subscribe button so that you always stay up to date on all of our weekly tutorials, which we upload every Wednesday. And if you like hanging out with us sometimes when we're having some of our stitch session conversations. In the meantime, have a great day, everyone, and take care.